Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
Out of the shotgun, Simeon fakes the handoff, play action. Now throws it to the right side, complete for a touchdown. Tre'Quan Smith right in the corner of the end zone, wide open, 11-yard touchdown, Saints.
Mike Haas on the call, New Orleans Saints Radio Network. That was the first touchdown of the game for the Saints, where Tre'Quan Smith put the Saints on top. But after they continuously shoot themselves in the foot, the Saints do come up short against Tennessee. A 23-21 Sunday in Nashville. The Saints have lost two straight. They have not lost three in a row since 2016. Of course, was the last time the Saints finished under 500. So the Saints are heading up to Philly this week, looking to avoid a little bit of a dubious distinction and some history they haven't faced now in half a decade. I say this often, and I don't mean to be redundant, but sometimes games like that hammer this point home. The margin in the NFL is so thin. It's not like in college football where sometimes Alabama is 30 points better than Tennessee. It's not like you have these drastic chasms of talent gaps. Everybody in the NFL is a pro, and that's why the old adage, any given Sunday, as cliche as it is true. That's why when everybody's talent is effectively even, you look for where the advantages come, and that's typically in coaching and in execution. The Saints are one of the best coached teams in the NFL. Sean Payton's one of the best coaches of this or any era, and he continues, despite all of the personnel losses, to have his team right there on the precipice of winning, but execution continues to fall short. You cannot in the NFL go on the road against a team with the best record in the AFC, a team that had won 5 straight games. You cannot go on the road and miss 2 PATs. You cannot go on the road and fumble the second half kickoff, in effect giving them 7 points. You cannot, when you're trying to tie the football game in the final minute, jump off sides on the 2-point conversion. You know the snap count. So now you're attempting a tying conversion from the 7 instead of the 2, the odds of which converting are drastically less, and clearly the Saints weren't able to convert. And yes, there was a heinous, absolutely heinous roughing the passer call, which negated a Marcus Williams interception in the end zone, where ultimately Tennessee did end up converting a touchdown. If you add up all of the points that came as a result of that, the 2 points on the missed PATs, the touchdown Tennessee scored after the fumble, Troutman's false start on the 2-point attempt, the brutal roughing call, that's 18 points. That's 18 points. You lost 23-21. I mean, if you just execute, you win this game and you probably win it comfortably. And that's the really difficult part about this right now. And listen, after the game, Sean Payton was ticked, y'all. I mean, you know when terse Sean Payton comes out, he's not usually wordy in a post-game interview anyway, in his post-game press conference. This was a different level of pissed off Sean Payton.
No explanation. There wasn't an explanation. What do you want me to say? You want my opinion on it? No opinion on it.
That was Sean Payton talking about the roughing the passer call, not getting an explanation. He also, this was Sean, just his open thoughts on the loss.
A couple false starts, critical situations, obviously the turnover, missed PATs, but, tip your hat. It was a hard-fought game.
The really, really, really tough part when you look back at this loss, all of those self-inflicted wounds that I talked about, it all bears out when you go look at the stat sheet. Like, it's one of those games where you could cover up the score and just look at the box score. And the Saints out first down Tennessee 22-17. Total yards, 373 to 264. You had more than 100 total yards of offense, more than they did. You held them to 264 yards total offense. Passing 287 to 198, rushing 86 to 66. You held the Tennessee Titans to 66 rush yards, an average of 2.3 yards per carry. look up and down the stat sheet, and the Saints owned this game. They controlled much of this game. The problem is the mistakes. You had 9 penalties for 65 yards. You had the very costly turnover, which led to a touchdown. The other things that I mentioned there with the missed PATs, the false start on the 2-point conversion, and all of that ultimately cost you your opportunity to win this game. Third down, you were 5 of 12. They were 3 of 12. Neither team was great, but you were better. It was one of those games where your self-inflicted mistakes cost you the win. Some things specifically from the game. The offense has got to get going earlier. This is the second consecutive week now where the Saints have been pretty putrid offensively in the first half. Last week, they were shut out against the Falcons. On Sunday, they put up just the 6th spot, the touchdown pass to Tre'Quan Smith. But they went in this game from that touchdown pass to Tre'Quan, which came at the 12:59 mark of the second quarter. So early in the second quarter, they went from that until the 3:54 mark of the third quarter, Ingram's 13-yard touchdown run, without scoring a point. I mean, you went darn near 2 full quarters of football without scoring a point. And then they did what they did on Sunday, what they did really well against Atlanta, is they started rallying late. And I think Sean Payton is going to have to look at this with his staff and say, are you sure Trevor Siemian's the guy? Because when you look at Trevor Siemian's stat line, without context, it looks really good. He, in this game, was, against Tennessee, 19 of 34, so he completed 56% of his passes. Not great, but good. 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, you can live with that. You can win with that. The problem is when the bulk of that is coming late when you're losing, the same as what happened against Atlanta. 25-41, completed 61% of his passes, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He's not making that critical mistake, but you're also slugging along. The other part of that is you had a couple more drop passes yesterday. You didn't have Alvin Kamara. Your offensive line did get pushed around at times from maybe what I think is the best defensive front in the NFL. You gave up 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hits. You had 5 passes defended. It was a tough game in that respect. That's the way Tennessee plays. But you were still good enough to win it. But is Trevor Siemian maybe not bringing a dimension to the offense that you have to have earlier in the game that maybe Taysom Hill can bring? And listen, if you listen to the show for any length of time, you know me. I'm the guy who doesn't believe Taysom Hill is a starting quarterback in the NFL. But he brings some elements that Trevor Siemian doesn't, where Siemian, I don't know that he can get over that hump because physically he is what he is. And you're not going to get you're personnel-wise not getting any better this year. You're not getting Michael Thomas back. Obviously, you're not going to bring in Odell. There's no cavalry coming. If it were, I would say stay the course, but it's not. So do you need another dynamic option on the field with the ball in his hands every play? And maybe that's Taysom Hill. Maybe that's the crazy outside the box thing that they may need in a weird Tim Tebow-ish Denver early kind of way where they went 10-6 and won a playoff game. I mean, maybe. I don't think that has any type of longevity or long-term possibility, but is that the kind of change of pace that could get your offense jump-started a little bit earlier? Maybe, and maybe that's something they look at. But when I look at this team right now, they are the making of a 500 football team. Like, when you are that inconsistent, when you can beat Green Bay and get blown out by Carolina, when you can win at New England, who's playing really good right now, and lose at home to the Giants, blowing a double-digit lead with 8 minutes to play, when you can be so efficient in beating Tampa Bay and then lose on your home field to the Falcons, who got walloped yesterday by Dallas, by the way. When you go on the road and you commit those types of mistakes to cost you a game against Tennessee, those are the types of things that are the making of a 500 team. You never find your consistent footing. It's a constant roller coaster, and it feels like that's what the Saints team is on. It would not surprise me not one bit, if the Saints go up to Philly on Sunday and beat the Eagles. It would not surprise me at all if they were able to do that, because they're good enough to do that. They were good enough to beat Green Bay. They're good enough to beat New England. Good enough to beat Tampa. They were good enough to beat Tennessee yesterday, although they didn't get it done. It would not surprise me one lick if they went up to Philly and got that win. But then you look at what's next. Home games against the Bills and against Dallas. Can you win those? Maybe. Is it certainly possible you lose both of them? Sure. I mean, you beat Tampa at home. Why not beat Buffalo at home? But then you're going to turn around and lose the Dolphins or at the Jets? Possibly, because that's just what we've seen from this team too much this year. Man, I sure hope that they could find their footing. I hope they could find some consistency. But this feels right now an awful lot like those back-to-back-to-back 7-9 seasons where you just never found your groove. Every time you felt optimistic, you drop one you shouldn't drop if you're going to be a playoff team. They're 5-4 right now. Let's hope they can keep their head above water, because if they can, I think they can be a playoff team. They're going to be a wild card team, but they can be a playoff team. If you beat the Eagles, even if you lose the next two to the Bills and the Cowboys, you got a road game against the Jets that's certainly winnable. Then you got to go to Tampa, but then you got winnable home games against the Dolphins, the Panthers, and you go to Atlanta. Like, you can win those last 3 games. You can win 4 of your last 5. But as we've seen with this team, they're also capable of losing any of those as well. Let's go get this one in Philly on Sunday. Find a little stability and find a way to get a win. Stay 2 games above 500 and see if they can make a run. But that's one that just is going to absolutely stick in your craw when you feel like you were better and you blew it because of your own doing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.